This video is brought to you by Harold Sack, who gave me a massive 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon. Vivi versus Y'shtola, Vinia, and the Dragon. My first delve into the new Magic the Gathering set, and we have fast mana and some card draw in our opening hand, so I think this is a good one to keep. Just tap lands on turn 1. I have asked for a bracket 4 game here, drawing to Mission Briefing, which is an instant speed version of Snapcaster Mage in a way. Get down Soaring. Okay, so we could go for Vivi here. We've got blue mana being held up, so I don't think I'm going to do that. I think instead we'll play Misty Rainforest. I'll go and grab some protection for our commander with Mystical Tutor and then cast it next turn. Go and grab Fierce Guardianship or Force of Will, something like that. Rampant Growth gets the Dragon an additional land. May not have been holding up counter magic. Zinnia is the first commander to hit play. Double mana being held up by the Esper player now potentially, so okay, there's Rhystic Study. We crack Misty Rainforest and play Mystical Tutor in response to that. And I think we're fine with our opponents tapped out to go for the Fierce Guardianship. If I was worried about the Vivi getting countered, it would have to have been the Force of Will so that we can actually get it into play. Fierce Guardianship, we draw into, play a mountain into our commander, and we've got nothing to cast into our commander at the moment, so we might as well just pay for the Rhystic Study. And now we have to just hold up priority for this, assuming that we're going to need to use it to keep our commander around. Zinnia gets to untap with his commander intact. The Dragon player has 4 mana held up. Thran Dynamo cast into the Rhystic Study, he can't pay the tax. We're going to be using our counter magic to protect Vivi, as opposed to keeping our opponents from going off. But it looks as though Thran Dynamo could eat a Flame of Anor, and then a Throne of the God Pharaoh ready for when a bunch of creatures enter, but is at least able to pay the tax. Sheoldred the Apocalypse, so I definitely want to be cantripping with this. I suppose it depends on what we draw into next turn. We want to keep non-creature spells in hand to trigger Vivi as much as possible, but if I have to go after Sheoldred and the Thran Dynamo and not cantrip, then maybe I'll just have to do that. So we have to draw a card to the draw step. I suppose I could have gone for Flame of Anor before that, but decided against it. Maybe hold out for another blue mana. Let's go Frantic Search first of all. Just drew into Valakut Awakening. And we're going to cast a lot of spells here, so we're just going to have to draw the other player a bunch of cards. Hopefully not too many, because they will be gaining life to Sheoldred, but I just want to play a little bit more cautiously at the moment while we don't know what we're drawing into. Alright, so I think there we can get rid of Valakut Awakening. We're going to lose life to Sheoldred as well, of course. Let's get rid of Riptide Laboratory. It's a bit early in the game to be playing colourless lands, unfortunately. But we did just draw into that island we were after. So lose the 4 life. Play an island. We've got our first counter on Vivi, of course. Flame of Anor. We drew into Expressive Iteration as well. So let's go 5 damage on a creature and draw 2 cards. Obviously our commander is a wizard, so we're able to do 2 here. And our opponent's forcing us to blow up the Sheoldred straight away. So once again, let him draw and gain some life. This is a Spellslinger deck, so we certainly can't afford any taxes like that. And we still lost the life because the card draw and the 5 damage on this all occurs at once, so we lost another 4 there. We're down to 29 already. Gifts Ungiven, we can't quite afford yet, but that could go and get us the combo pieces that we want, start going off. So we might as well go for the Iteration here. And again, we might as well pay for the Rhystic Study this time because we've got a floating mana. Alright, Seagate Restoration, I wouldn't mind having in hand. Desperate Ritual, we could carry on doing some stuff here, although Vivi isn't doing a whole lot for us, not on this turn. So let's go for Desperate Ritual into our hand, and then 1 on the bottom of the library, which is the island. Oh, actually I'm exiling this, aren't I? I thought I had until the end of the next turn with this, but you can only do it this turn. Oh well, we lose out on Seagate Restoration, unfortunately. But it would have been on the bottom of the deck anyway. So I think we'll just continue to pass the turn. I'll go into the right with Vivi and deal a little bit of damage there. What we could do is go for 3 mana with this, and then we'd have 3 and a blue for Gifts Ungiven, and we can only do this during our turn. Then we'll still have the Fierce Guardianship mana held up, so yeah, let's just do it now. Blue, blue and red. Desperate Ritual. And we're dealing damage to our opponents while we do this, don't forget. So no Touristic Study. I suppose if I was going to do this I should have landed extra damage on my opponent, but I've only just decided to do it now. So choose an opponent, I'll just choose the dragon player, it's arbitrary really. And with Give Some Given we want to get our cantrip effects. So we've got Curiosity. Give Some Given is a newly unbanned card by the way, so good that we get to see it here and see exactly what it is that you do with Give Some Given. Ophidian Eye as well. Then Tandem Lookout. And I'm intrigued about the fourth option. Could maybe be a Wheel of Fortune to keep cards in our hand, but protecting our commander with Force of Will might be an idea. So let's go Force of Will. Our opponent might be scared of that, so he might give us a couple of means of cantripping here. But he definitely has to give us one cantrip effect because we get 2 cards off the Gift Ungiven. Search for 4. Our opponent gives us 2 of them. Alright, and we got Ophidian Eye and the Force of Will. So that means that next turn, if we can get this onto Vivi, then every non-creature spell that we cast will ping our opponents and draw us cards. Although as it stands now, we don't have enough blue mana to go for the mission briefing after the Ophidian Eye. I suppose we could hit an opponent during combat maybe. You can always make more blue mana with Vivi, but you want to power this up as much as possible before you activate it to maximise the amount of mana you get. Animate Dead. Not sure. He's probably going for the Sheoldred there. So this is where we want to make use of Mission Briefing and kill it again with the Flames of Anor. And that will actually draw us cards as well, so not going to be the worst thing. All depends on if we have to exile the Mission Briefing to the Force of Will, really. So does decide to grab himself the Sheoldred, which is going to undo some of our pings from Vivi. And then it is a Night's Whisper. The Ristic Study player will have 12 cards in hand at the beginning of his turn. Luckily Esper can be slow on the uptake with regards to the mana generation. Could have quite a few means of spot removal to point at our commander though, to the point where 2 pieces of counter magic isn't good enough. Anyway, gains 4 life after losing 2 to the Night's Whisper thanks to the legend. A Smothering Tithe, that triggers whenever an opponent draws a card, so going to be plenty of treasure being made over here. And Ristic Study drew another card, lost another couple of life to Sheoldred, so this player's down to 28 already. And there's a Fervor to give all the stuff haste, so I'm guessing he's thinking of dumping a bunch of tokens into play all at once, just setting up over there. And there we see card draw from Ristic Study, has them lose 2 life and hand a treasure over to the Jeskai player. Manages to throw out a Serra Ascendant after that, is just about above the 30 life threshold, and does have haste on that, so that is a 6/6 flyer. We just have to hope that we can survive long enough to start to go off. We've had a good start. During playtesting I have gone off on turn 5 quite frequently, so even with the fast mana we've been a little bit slower than we might be. Anyway, Zinnia going into the left, and Serra Ascendant hits us for 6, knocking us down to 23. Bumps his life total up to just under the starting point, and then Throne of the God Pharaoh knocks us down a bit as well thanks to the tapped creatures. So we are at the halfway point. We'll have to be careful drawing cards into that Sheoldred. Depends on what we draw next turn, if we drop Ophidian Eye or the Mission Briefing first. A Sol Ring, nice new Final Fantasy version, same as ours. I think there's about 4 different Final Fantasy Sol Rings. Elspeth's Stormslayer is able to destroy a creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. So I think we have to counter that, which will put another counter on Vivi at least. They know we have the Fierce Guardianship, they know we have Force of Will as well. We'll draw another card to Ristic Study, and so make another treasure token, and lose 2 life to Sheoldred. It's rinse and repeat. But like I said, all the card draw in the early game for Esper not quite as threatening. And an Esper Sentinel, because he hasn't drawn enough cards apparently. Maybe he's just wanting to use that as a chump blocker, or he's eager to get into something that he hasn't seen in hand yet. A board wipe or something. So once again, we've seen no attempt at spot removal onto the Vivi yet. It might be that the Jeskai player with the treasure mana has held something up. See what we get here. An island would be ideal. Another blue source isn't the worst. So we need to deal with Sheoldred if we're going to be drawing cards. Brainstorm does count as card draw, so you'd lose 6 to casting that for a single blue mana. Doesn't seem worth it. So let's go for the Mission Briefing. And we're going to have to crack Vivi for some mana sooner than I would like, I think. Say no to both the tax triggers here. And with Esper Sentinel you do have to draw a card. The Rhystic Study is a May ability, so we'll see if he draws a 14th card here. And he's still saying yes, so he goes down to 15 life, and then 14 with Vivi. Surveil, Mithril Coat we don't really seem to need. We've got a lot of white players we're up against, so I think that's in the graveyard. The Mountain is in the graveyard as well, because we've already got one. It's actually blue mana we're after. And then let's go Flames of Anor, and we do have to hardcast that, so now we'll have to activate Vivi, and we'll make 5 blue mana and a couple of red. Obviously don't know what I'm going to draw into, but Flame of Anor, we'll do the same again. Draw 2, 5 damage onto Sheoldred, and we will take the life to Sheoldred for the same reason we did previously. So Rhystic Study triggers once again, see if he continues to go down to 12 to it this time. He says yes, so once again, being very, very aggressive with that. I mean, we're being aggressive as well, but it's pretty much our only choice here. Now have an Offer You Can't Refuse held up. Have not drawn into an island though. But getting into the blue cards for the Force of Will is always good. Plenty of mana for Smothering Tithe. He's gonna see a lot of treasure being made with only 3 cards in hand. Yeah, really unfortunate that we had to activate the Vivi already. Ideally we wouldn't have had to do that. There's an extra turn card in the deck, so we'll just have to try and aim for that. I'll go Ophidian Eye onto Vivi first. And once that lands, play ourselves a Brainstorm. And just for casting that, we ping each opponent. So here's the combination. Ophidian Eye is going to see 3 players get hit, and therefore draw us 3 cards. And there's Harmonic Prodigy to get the double triggers as well. Fists of Flame to buff up Vivi, so again, ideally we would have played an island before now, so that we could have cast both the Mission Briefing and the Lord of the Rings Flame of Anor, and that means that we would have had the mana to do something like this, buff up Vivi even more, get even more mana out of it, but the timing was just a little bit off unfortunately. Don't seem to be able to draw into the blue for whatever reason. But we draw more cards. There is a Wooded Foothills Dizzy spell we don't need anymore, although we could use that to tutor out some bounce effects, which actually might be a good idea. Bergie is useful as well. Let's just put a couple of mountains on top then. So play and crack Wooded Foothills. Again, this is a blue fetch, or a red fetch even. We needed a blue fetch there. So we're going to have to shock something down, I think. Yeah, only got Steam Vents. That'll just have to be a shock, taking 3 life to get our mana fixed. Could go after more card draw here, I suppose. As opposed to, I'm thinking of the bounce spell, the Sigil. We won't be able to play anything into the Sigil is the problem, unless our opponents give us something to Force of Will. So I'm just gonna try Fists of Flame instead. We've drawn 9 cards this turn according to Fists of Flame, so use your imagination. The extra turn card we've got is 3 mana, so we might hit lucky here and be able to draw into it. Ophidian Eye triggers on the Vivi trigger with us casting Fists of Flame, so we draw 3 more cards. Alright, Seething Song to add some more mana. Oh, I thought I was saying no. Oh, that's so irritating. I thought I was saying no to the Smothering Tithe triggers there. I was saying no to Ophidian Eye stupidly. Alright, well, there we are. Now we say no to Smothering Tithe. Didn't realise this was a May ability to be honest, but it is. Right, so Vivi is now a 22 power commander, so this player will just have to hope that we can't take him out here. In that case, do we want to cast Prismari Command, or do we want to hold up and Offer You Can't Refuse? I think we're best doing that, as much as I hate wasting the mana. So let's go straight down the middle at the player who is currently the biggest threat to us. Drew into another blue mana in Cephalic Colosseum. That is a pain mana, unfortunately. And now there's treasure mana being cracked, so Teferi's Protection is the thing we're hoping they don't cast here. But this is why we're holding up the Offer You Can't Refuse, so we've still got Force of Will accessible to us. Alright, it is a Cyclonic Rift, we just counter that. We've got a choice between choosing to show them that we've got an Offer You Can't Refuse and just using Force of Will here because they know we've got it, but an Offer You Can't Refuse goes after instants and sorceries, whereas Force of Will can counter anything, so I'm just going to show my hand a little bit here. Might be that they can counter the counter, but we'll force them to do it. Definitely worth the investment in cards to get rid of a player. So it's an offer you can't refuse. Onto the Riff. This is only turn 5, bear in mind. This is the power of the new Vivi Commander and bracket 4. So in casting, an offer you can't refuse, it's more Ophidian Eye triggers, and let's say yes to it this time, shall we? Brain farted previously and thought I was saying no to the tithe. As Bauble, we can continue to trigger things. We've just got no mana now, unfortunately. But we might be able to take this player out with a bit of luck. You can see now why we wanted rid of Sheoldred quite desperately. And the client's starting to be a bit buggy here. Alright, this guy's scooping because he knows that we're just going to draw enough to take him out most likely. He was being really overly aggressive with that Rhystic Study. I'm not sure what he was hunting for. More blue cards to draw into. This player scoops as well. So we don't... I think this is any damage. Yeah, it includes combat damage, so we're missing out on a draw there, which hopefully isn't relevant. And obviously the damage that this player now isn't taking is going to draw us fewer cards, but again, hopefully it's not relevant. Let's get down Urza's Bauble to look at more stuff. 1 damage again. We've got this player down to 25. Draw to Ophidian Eye. And there's Will of the Jeskai to give all our stuff flashback. We will have to pay for it though, but Vivi is massive. It will get the debuff because some of this buff is only until the end of the turn. But yeah, let's look at a card at random in this player's hand. Could save that until the draw step, I suppose. But we want to draw a card, which happens at the next turn's upkeep. And as for discard, we're not getting into the lands, unfortunately, but I think we can get rid of Windfall. Prismari Command hopefully won't be of much use to us. And I don't trust our opponent won't get down a scary dragon that we want to bounce, so I'll keep this. I don't know, bin the Cephalid Colosseum and just hope that we draw into a land at some point. Draw a card to the Bauble after we cracked it, and that is a Wild Ride, which is another means of buffing our Vivi. It does mean if we want to harmonise, we have to tap this down, so we can't attack in, which might be relevant. Wasn't planning on attacking him with Vivi at any point, but apparently it will make a difference. Urza's Incubator going to discount the dragons, so we can still play a 4-drop here. And Sunscorched Regent, so that will actually negate the damage that Vivi is doing, which is interesting. I think we just make use of Force of Will here, which means we have to get rid of the Opt, but I think we should be fine, even though it is a cheap spell to cast into it. Dizzy Spell actually is probably a better idea now that we don't need to bounce any creatures. Again, our opponent did know that we had the Force of Will. So draw just the 1 card this time because we've only got 1 opponent. There is Mystic Sanctuary with 3 islands in play, so a little bit of extra luck on the land front. And our commander currently sat with 14 plus counters as a 14-7. So let's see if we can try and get him on commander damage. It's Hullbreaker Horror. There's the excuse to not crack the Urza's Bauble. If you can use another 0-drop or Sol Ring, something like that, you can get the infinite casts and infinite bounces back and forth, and obviously you're pinging and buffing Vivi the whole time you do that. So let's get out Birgi, and we will play the Harmonic Prodigy, which will make a red mana because we've cast any spell. Then we play the Mystic Sanctuary, which will come into play untapped. What do we want to put on top? I think we're fine to just grab ourselves a cheap Brainstorm. And I do appreciate my opponent's patience here. Maybe he's wanting to work out Vivi so that he can try and combat it down the line. Let's make a bunch of red mana to the Seething Song, including some from the Birgi as well. And we've now got double triggers on Vivi thanks to the Harmonic Prodigy. The Prodigy will get Prowess as well, which means we get 2 card draws on the Vivian Eye. So obviously draw into Brainstorm, there's Arid Mesa, we've already made a land for the turn, but we get some mana from Seething Song. So let's go, might as well just go Wild Ride to make even more mana with Vivi, point it over there. And again, it's the same triggers, Prowess, 2 Vivis and Birgi. And this will actually be enough to just deal combat damage to my opponent. I'm assuming he doesn't have a free means of dealing with Vivi, because we actually can't protect him now. But there we've got Mizzix's Mastery as well. So we could, now that we've loaded up the graveyard, cast all this again, but our commander is now 21. So as much as it'd be good to carry on, I think we're best just not wasting our opponent's time and hoping that he can't get rid of Vivi. Just wasted 5 mana off the Seething Song there, but I don't want to waste my opponent's time any. And it looks as though he is graciously taking it. So I just said thank you to him for playing it out. I'm not sure if he's still in the game or not, but yeah, the scariest, most powerful commander in the set is the scariest and most powerful commander in the set for a reason, apparently. We could have done all that on turn 5 on the previous turn, like I said a few times, had we have been a bit more lucky on the mana front. So maybe I have too many basics in the list and need to get more jewels in here. But you get a rough idea of everything that we want to do there, pretty much. Had we have been nowhere near winning with combat damage there, it would have been Mizzix's Mastery. Play all of this stuff in the graveyard, and that would have triggered Vivi twice per non-creature spell cast. And this is all before we've even activated Vivi for the additional mana. So all the extra cards that we were drawing into, we would have gone on to cast those as well. And I think it's safe to say that we would have cast at least 10 cards. Bear in mind that Vivi gets 2 triggers per non-creature spell that we cast thanks to the Harmonic Prodigy. So we only would have needed to cast 10 spells there. I think our opponent was at 20. Anyway, if you want to see more high-powered Vivi in bracket 4 games like that, then be sure to let me know as ever. I imagine this is going to be an exciting commander for a lot of people. Huge thank you to the patrons for sticking with me all these years and for keeping me around making these videos for all of you. I'm Tribalkai. Thank you for watching.